little bit of got a little bit of duct tape and wires there. You got a little bit of the view of what that looks like. Let's change these properties here. Okay, that's better. All right, launch the game. Thank you very much. Let's fucking get it, dude. All right. Nice, nice. I also want to here. Let me re-enable desktop audio because I can hear it, but I think one of the notifications sounded and people couldn't hear it last time. Let's now move this up to -38 instead of -41. Hopefully the audio balance between my voice and the game is a little bit better so that I'm not clipping as much in my mic audio and the game isn't so quiet that you can barely hear it. I'd like the game audio to be audible for the audience. That's a lot of AUD. Um, but you know, it does pose some problems when one thing is too loud or overpowering or something like that. So that's what's up. Anywho, we're getting back into it. Love me some custom tracks. Let's do it. Oh, fuck. Alright. Let's, okay. The French elections are happening today as well. I'm gonna be talking about that a little bit. Let me actually update the title of the live stream to reflect that. There we go. Nice. Direct premier tour des législatives 2024 se donne le premier résultat dans les dom-tom. I don't know what that means. Although they are talking about the early results of this election. Oh yeah, it's evening over there. I wonder how this election will shape up. Hopefully, somewhat well. Alright. Somebody's in Antarctica? That's crazy, dude. I know they just set their location to Antarctica, but how funny would it be if there is a researcher in Antarctica doing a long-term project there with some other folks, and they just, to pass the time, they're just playing Mario Kart Wii. Like, I legitimately don't even know if it's possible to have internet access in Antarctica. I'm sure that, like, they probably do, because a lot of the, you know, the experiments that you would run or the you know, the data that you would collect in Antarctica would require you to do data entry into a server somewhere, like a fucking NASA server or something. Or a USGS server. Holy shit, that's a thing? Evidently not, they fell off. God damn. Um, yeah. I don't know, I'm probably dwelling on that too much. The whole, what if somebody actually is in Antarctica playing Mario Kart? I don't even know if that's possible. So. That mushroom's a trap, dude. Don't go for it. Oh, he went for it anyway. Okay. Okay. This guy's lagging all over the place. You got the little crowns in their username. What? Oh, is he? What an asshole. I'm not spectating this guy anymore. He slowed down on the boost panel section just to hit people. Damn. What is wrong with this dude? Alright, let's spectate Sherm. The player's up there using the Wii wheel. That's kind of crazy. Yes, get him. He deserves it. No, he's gonna win. Dang. Rip. Let's open this on up. Preparing the race. Yes. Oh, 6 people. Okay. Seems all well and good. Your typical vote for a random track kind of thing. Yeah. Before I get to the namesake of the stream, I want to touch on something that I mentioned last time when I was talking about Joe Biden's abysmal debate performance. There apparently, that thing I predicted that would happen, because the Democrats have a habit of doing this, blaming the left and minorities for the poor debate performance or the public perception of said debate performance and things of that nature. How they always fucking do this because Democrats, I swear, they're like allergic to winning or something. They have already started to do that. The Democrats have already decided that it's actually the left's fault and it's our own voter base's fault that Joe Biden performed so bad, actually. All right, let's... I'm just gonna use this here. Yeah. I think that gives me less air. There's a tweet that I have pulled up. Oh, he knows the strats. That's what's up. This is just it's a tweet from a random guy, but it shows a screenshot of an email that he got. You know, the political parties will send campaigning emails to people, because in America, we don't have public financing of electoral campaigns, so they have to solicit donations from people, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, which they are all too happy to do, of course. Or actually, no, I shouldn't say they're all too happy to do that. A lot of people are actually quite frustrated with the amount of time they have to spend on fundraising. That's its own issue. I might want to touch on that in a second. But they regardless, they send these fundraising emails out all the time because it's like, it's so dominant in the cycle of like what Congress does. And, of course, it's a vehicle by which they can do public messaging and stuff as well. So that often gets reflected in the emails. This one guy published or put a tweet out about an email that he got from the Democratic Party, He says, absolutely stunning. Sorry, kind of hard to read and drive at the same time. He says, this campaign is telling all Democrats who, one, care the most about beating Trump, and two, have the firmest connection to reality to fuck off. And if I go through the contents a little bit further, I'm gonna get blown up this race. Yeah. We're talking about millions of donors, volunteers, and activists, the people you need to win. It's madness. So, if I look at this email, this guy's name is Aaron. It says, hey, Aaron, if you're like me, you're getting lots of texts or calls from the folks about the state of the race after Thursday. Maybe it was your panicked aunt, your MAGA uncles, or some self-important podcasters. So they're loading up this framing with like, hey, all the people who had negative things to say about Biden's performance, yeah, all of those people are actually Trump supporters. Nobody could possibly have critiqued Biden from the perspective of him being a shambling corpse on the stage up there last night, or a few nights ago. Yes, the debate started rough, blah, blah. The bedwetting brigade is calling for Joe Biden to drop out. That's the best possible way for Donald Trump to win and for us to lose. Fucking, like, frustrating to no end. But also, this is exactly what I said. The Democratic Party is allergic to good strategy. They hate winning. They love losing. And they love to just blame it on their base and blame it on the left, and not directly minorities in this case, but, basically blame all the people that do all the work for them. The donors, the volunteers, not like big money donors, but like the small dollar donors, the volunteers, the fucking people that vote for them, they're all the people carrying the Democratic Party, whatever the fuck is left of it. And then this is how the Democratic Party treats them. I didn't get a box. Rip. I don't know what happened to the bullet there. I can't believe I managed to navigate that. That's kind of crazy. And in fact, that email from the Democratic Party underscores something that I want to elaborate on that I said last time a little bit more. I mentioned, I think I got the most important details across when I said that the Democratic Party is actually not a democratic, small d, Democratic Party, but rather they are a liberal party, which means that their first and foremost obligation is to the interests of private capital, and democratic interests come second, if at all. And they would abandon those if the need arose for their donors and such. This underscores that a little bit more. The liberals are like, they're the status quo party, as I mentioned. They have a very bizarre view of politics, and this is part of that view of politics, that like ultimately they are not a party or a ideology that's ideologically committed to democracy, right? They actually don't like democracy very much. Liberals don't. To them, the democratic norms and institutions and the voter base is an inconvenient hurdle that must be navigated. It's an inconvenient standard that must be maintained for the sake of attaining power and enacting their agenda, right? And it's like, it's just, oh, this is just the way things are, right? In this way, they're actually a little bit similar to fascists, although fascists are much more direct about wanting to subvert and go around those norms, institutions, and voters in order to do their shtick. And of course, their shtick is often much more destructive because they're fascists. What the fuck? We're good. We're not good. I didn't get an item. You know, if I get third, actually, I think I'll be pretty happy with my performance. No! Okay, I shouldn't have went for it, but I did anyway. At least I didn't get squished. Silver lining, I guess? I don't know. Three mushrooms? I can use these to my advantage. I just hope that that guy, some of those folks way back there don't have the shock. And I was mistaken. They do. Well, I mean, I wasn't necessarily mistaken. I was just relying on hope as a tactic, which is not great. Oh, this is actually great for me. Second place, I think. If I stole second, that would actually be wild. There's some Democratic Party ops coping in the replies, and but I don't think anybody can really there's no real refutation to this. They all dance around the issue, which is that Joe Biden is dying, he's a shambling corpse, and he didn't perform well in the debate, and he ultimately needs to be replaced if the Democratic Party is going to have any shot at winning the election. It's just, it goes hand in hand. This is the way in which liberals' anti-democratic tendencies actually show themselves, where they constantly run up against the interests of their voter base. A lot of people who vote for liberal parties are not enthusiastic liberals, but rather people who are participating in a harm reduction practice, or rather lesser evilism, by voting for the objectively less worse party. You know, between liberals and fascists, if they are the only two options, you should vote for the liberals, while, again, working against both of them by trying to push further left outside of the electoral cycle. You know? This is just probably, this is the most obvious case where we will see liberals have a massive disdain for their voter base and the very things that keep the party afloat at all, at the grassroots level, you know? It's like most of us know the secret sauce here. In fact, all four of us do. That's pretty cool. Oh, you might not know the extra super secret sauce. Oh, what did they do? That's some massive shortcut that I'm not aware of. But yeah, that email, like I said, most obvious example of the Democratic Party being very anti-democratic in the sense that they don't care for the components of democracy that make a country tick in a democratic system, and it was just one thing I wanted to focus on because it really confirms. It confirms what all I was saying about the Democratic Party being a liberal party, not a democratic one, right? And them also ultimately not wanting to win or not caring enough to win. Because it indicates that they really don't understand how politics works all that much. Also, they're way up there. Holy shit. Take this blooper, guys. I'm gonna do some of this. Yeah. Another mega? I'll take it. Let's hope I don't fuck this part up this time. I think I know where I want to use this Mega. I just hope a POW doesn't happen. Oh, what? I'm in first. Cool. Very cool. Yay, I win. Now, did I deserve to win that race? I'm going to actually go with yes, because I think I exercised a lot of patience in holding that Mega Mushroom and using it at exactly the time that I did. I think I drove really well, considering I haven't played that track in a while. I executed the track mostly correctly, and then I used the Mega Mushroom at exactly the point where it would get me the most utility. It kind of gave me a breakaway, and then I won at the end. You know? That was good. Now, let's get to the namesake of the stream, at least one of them. I mentioned a little bit about the French elections at the beginning. I'll get to that more later, probably. I know there's some Europeans that frequent my chat that would appreciate me talking about European politics, but first, I'm an American. I gotta talk about American politics because I'm America first. That's not real. Don't believe that. That was a joke. It's just that America is super important for world affairs, and I live there. The Supreme Court has been doing some wacky shit. In fact, they broke the whole last country. I'm gonna have to find a news article for this in a moment, but if I can, I'm gonna recite the decisions that they made from memory. There were, I think, two or three recent decisions that were just so bad from the Supreme Court about about a couple things really. One of them, let's first go through the decision about homelessness, right? The Supreme Court was slated to hear a case about a law that had been enacted in I think a locality in Oregon, I believe, which criminalized homelessness, made it illegal to sleep in a public place. Basically, camping on a park bench or in a public park, no bueno, right? And you could be arrested for that and the like. And now a lot of lawyers were arguing, in fact, public defenders and advocates for poor and the homeless were arguing that this is a specifically anti-homeless law because this is the only group of people that it would affect. And in fact, it would say that, like, yeah, you have to go to jail even if there are no other accommodations available, like if there's no public housing to speak of. You would still be sent to jail. Do not pass go, do not collect $200, that sort of thing. Let's see. SCOTUS homelessness ruling? Let's see that. Yeah, Supreme Court empowers cities to ban homeless encampments. It basically, before there were some, there was at least a theoretical legal precedent that homeless encampments, couldn't really be, like if you tried to clear them, if you tried to just mass arrest homeless people, then you would run into legal trouble because that would be discrimination based on status, right? They literally have nowhere to go. Their very existence would be criminalized. But the Supreme Court decided, actually, no, this is not cruel and unusual because homeless people aren't people, you see. That's not the direct words that they use, but that was the underlying logic of their ruling, was that home people are unsightly and degenerate. That's not the literal, again, not the literal word that they use, but you only need to expand the definition, or not expand the definition, you only need to look at the definition of the word degenerate to understand, oh, that's exactly what they ruled. They effectively said that, like, yeah, the presence of homeless people makes communities worse by way of, like, I don't know, some kind of social contagion that generates like paranoia and mistrust or something like that. A parallel sort of logic, believe it or not, to broken windows policing, just to support the criminalization of sleeping on the park bench, you know. Am I living? I might be living. I am, in fact, not living. There goes my race. Unless I do some insane shit to make a comeback. We'll see. We'll see. 3 mushrooms? Looking not bad. Let's go this way. Oh, okay. Got that kind of close. That's okay. I'm in 3rd. This track is nerve-wracking. I don't think I can do that big shortcut with 1 mushroom, so I'm gonna have to do the smaller shortcut. Have to do this one. Whoa, dude, that's actually crazy. He threw it backwards, but because he was going so fast, it went forward. I tried to get him right when he landed, but eh. Okay. Hit the thing there, but that's okay. Bomb? Sure, why not? Put you right here. Yeah. Easy. Well, not easy, but you know. Is that gonna get him? Not quite. Oh, okay. Oh, he's waiting at the line? Interesting. I appreciate him taking blue shells, potentially. Eh. Blooper. Alright, 3rd place. Hi, what's up, Globalize My Agenda? It's been a while. Here, let's take a look at one of these articles. There we go. Let's get that decision lined up. What about the other 2? Would I need an article for the other 2? I don't think I would. No, I would for the January 6th ruling. Okay. I can get through the first 2, and then I'll have to look up an article for the 3rd one. So the Supreme Court, let's see, says cities can punish people for sleeping in public places. This is a criminalization of homelessness because that's the only circumstance in which you would do this voluntarily. Although theoretically, it does also ban camping on federal land. But we all know that the law is not going to be applied like that because the people who have enough money to go camping on federal land would be able to afford a lawyer and legal challenges. And in either case, the people who craft homeless bans like these are looking for them to specifically be applied to homeless people, not to weekend campers. Camping will not be banned, or maybe camping will experience a decline, but regardless, the main objective here is to criminalize homelessness and punish homeless people for being degenerate and dirty and whatever. And they'll drag the entirety of society down with them to do that. This is one of the most insidious things about this ruling. It's just because they fucking hate the poor and hate homeless people. Believe it or not, it actually costs more money to give the police more money to bust up homeless encampments, to call the police on like homeless people sleeping in the park and like break it all up and force them out of the city, force them to be displaced somewhere else. So they will house the homeless in prisons. Yeah, and that's more expensive than if you just built affordable housing. Seriously, building housing is not that hard. But if you imprison all homeless people, you actually have to pay for a bunch of administrative, legal, and um, like legal costs. I think I said legal twice. Whatever. Administrative, judicial, and legal costs. There we go. If I didn't get it right the first time, I got it right there. Those costs would be more expensive than just building affordable housing and doing like housing first policy making, implementing some like social safety programs and UBI programs, most of the pilots of which have been very successful, to house the homeless, right? Like that would be taking that approach, the sensible approach, the approach that countries like Finland do, that, you know, it's a known quantity, it's not like uncharted territory, is less expensive than criminalizing homelessness. But the court fucking hates homeless people so much, and conservatives hate homeless people so much, that they would actually rather criminalize the homeless. And quite frankly, it's not even just a conservative thing either. You know, the hatred of homeless people is deeply reactionary. Don't get me wrong. That's not like in question. And of course, conservatives are way more reactionary than every other political group. But fundamentally, this is also a flaw inherent to liberalism. Conservatives, remember, are just a different kind of liberal. Fascism is a liberal or post-liberal ideology. It came from the Industrial Revolution, when liberalism was the order of the day, politically and economically speaking, right? So a lot of what is present in fascism is also present, or was present, in liberalism. It's like the worst tendencies of liberal systems amplified. And one of those tendencies is the demonization of the homeless. First off, on a like ethical, moral level, and then in codified into legal documents and stuff like that. It sounds crazy, but this is one respect in which life was actually better in the Middle Ages. It, you know, or social norms were better, not life in general. Life had a way worse material standard of living in the Middle Ages compared to now. But like the social norms surrounding the homeless were actually way better in the Middle Ages compared to now, which is not even to say that they were good. That's how bad things are now. They weren't even good in the Middle Ages for homeless people. But typically, the attitude with which people viewed the homeless in, say, medieval Europe, or any place in the world, really, was one of compassion and like pity and sympathy, right? Yeah, I don't think so. You're literally wrong on that. If you're trying to refute like the what I'm saying about the attitude was better, though, I guess. Oh, what? Oh, I'm so sorry. I completely saw that out of temporal context. Yeah, no, life was not better in the Middle Ages, but the attitudes regarding homeless people were much better. That was my misunderstanding. The attitude towards homeless people in the Middle Ages, you can see this in a lot of surviving historical documents. You can see it in the Bible. In pre-capitalist times, was one mostly of pity, right? Because, like, man, that sucks. They don't have a house, and their life probably sucks, and I feel bad for them. Very natural reaction, I would think. Right? So you had like certain social structures, or halfway built social structures, that were relevant to that. Again, not to say things were good, just that they were better than now. And in fact, the way that homeless people are treated now is much more comparable to how lepers were treated in medieval Europe. Lepers ostracized, brutalized, and shunned the way that homeless people are now because of the admittedly credible fear of disease spreading. However, I mean, that's not really a reason to go after lepers specifically. Everybody in the fucking world was a vector for disease back in the day. Like, not to say that it's justified, just that it is a little bit more understandable and doesn't come from a place necessarily of like moral vice, right? It's just literally they're dirty, they didn't shower, that I could get sick if I'm around them for too long, right? And that created a lot of socially reactionary attitudes that stemmed from that. But fundamentally, there's a difference, right? Because what ended up happening afterwards, when liberal revolutions started succeeding, which did represent a pretty large increase in the quality of life. When those revolutions started succeeding and those norms became more prevalent, narratives were established along with them, because the name of the game was like, oh well, we're this egalitarian paradise now, like it's a meritocracy. That myth started to take hold. The social narrative changed from one of like, I actually don't even know 100% what the social narrative would have been in medieval Europe, like coherently speaking. But I'm very well acquainted with the myth of meritocracy, which is a liberal phenomenon. That sort of created the implication, which then became codified into the myth itself, that homeless people were homeless because they were less deserving. Right? And it's like, you get what you deserve. And how do I know that you get what you deserve? Because you have it. It's like, you deserve what you have what you deserve. It's a circle of logic. Attitude was better, though, I guess. Like, in the Middle Ages, the oldest inherited everything. Yeah, that's right, primogenitor succession. The other kids would get kicked out to be homeless. But yeah, they were taken care of. Homeless people would go from house to house, or that place would take care of them out of fear. Yeah, that's right. There was like the fear of divine punishment if you did not lead a Christ-like life, which I think is a better incentive structure than the one that currently exists. Not a difficult thing to, it's not a high bar to clear, but the Middle Ages did clear. No, not because of the divine. Well, certainly in a lot of the Christian countries in Europe, that's what the motivation was. That Christ washed the feet of prostitutes and lepers, and so you should too, because Christ was a holy individual. That is the moral thing to do. And in fact, if you behave in a way that is un-Christ-like, you might incur divine retribution. That was not an insignificant motive in the feudal, like in the Christian world at the time, and also, I think in the Islamic world as well. When the homeless person would go to the next house, who would complain about the lack of hospitality. Yes, that is a thing as well. On a more secular line, or like intersectarian lines, like not specific to any sort of religious mythos, there was a very strong hospitality culture, and yeah, people wanted to avoid being socially shamed in public. With the new economic structures and social structures that were introduced by capitalism, those motives and those incentives lessened. Like it eroded away at the sympathy that people had towards the homeless, because it transformed the entire economy into one of raw competition, where it was like, the cliche is the dog eat dog world mentality, but ultimately it's like that plus, if you can't make it, that just means you weren't good enough, and it's a moral failing on your part. And that, like, of course, it disproportionately impacted the people that were less fortunate, that couldn't really, that couldn't access the same standards of living that wealthier people had, right? And that means homeless people, most of all. All that to say, that is the root ideology of the ruling that came from the Supreme Court regarding the status of homeless people in America. It is actually liberalism. Liberalism is the reason that this shit happens. That homelessness is criminalized, because in a liberal economic or socioeconomic system, people's like moral worth is almost entirely dependent on their economic output, or their wealth, basically. Your money, the money doesn't just become something with which you are able to access higher standards of goods and services. It also becomes the access by which you are morally judged, which is fucked up in a hierarchical system such as this. And I mean, it's fucked up in any system that like assign greater inherent moral worth to people who have a bigger number next to their name. You know? Not a huge fan, gotta say. And understand that it might sound like, from an American perspective, it might sound like I'm throwing pot shots at the left or blaming the left for this in some form. I am not. Liberals in the United States and everywhere else are not necessarily a constituent part of the left. What I am doing is criticizing everybody that adheres to a capitalist ideology. And you need 2 shrooms for that, okay. Because liberalism is not necessarily a left or right thing. In fact, relative to the current political spectrum, liberalism is a right-wing ideology at its core. It is just a capitalist ideology, and conservatives are included. When I say liberals, I also mean conservatives, because they are also pro-capitalist. In many respects, that liberals believe in free markets and the sort of meritocratic world order and distribution of economic goods and services. Conservatives are also like that. That kind of existed before that too. Like, you could buy indulgences for your sins, for sure. Like, hierarchy is nothing new, and I'm not saying that capitalism is specifically hierarchical as opposed to other systems. I'm saying that the hierarchy in capitalism is a very different hierarchy from the hierarchies in feudal Europe. Yes, money could get you a long way in feudal Europe. You know, in many ways that was there. That was there in feudal Europe as well. That sort of moral worth for having more money or whatever. But it is like the main feature of capitalism, that your moral worth, even not even on a religious level, on a secular level, your moral worth is judged by how much money you have. In feudal Europe, it was a little bit different. There was still a little bit more of that aristocratic Platonic mythos of nobles being of royal blood, or of some sort of special blood that gave them a more holy essence or something like that. Really wacky shit. And I have no doubt that when we transcend capitalism eventually, the myth of meritocracy is going to sound just as stupid as that sounds to us right now. Because it is, ultimately. But yes, sorry, long winding road. That is to say, I've explained the sort of hierarchical tendencies of liberalism here surrounding markets and money, to explain that this is the underpinning ideology of the Supreme Court, and this is why they decided 6-3 along partisan lines to criminalize, or to allow the criminalization of homelessness, because that part of their worldview informs their belief that homeless people are functionally subhuman, because they are people but without a number next to their name. They don't have any money to speak of. They don't have any resources, you know? Oof. I have to jump to make that. It's super scary. Bad landing there. And that's just one of the rulings. This, by the way, this ruling has implications of its own. The homelessness ruling. This is going to make homelessness a way bigger problem than it was. It's going to lead to unprecedented state, like, crimes against humanity against the homeless population. You know. And when I say state, I mean like the federal government in part, because the federal government's going to be kind of checkmarking these decisions by the states. They're like giving the rubber stamp of approval and stuff like that. But I also mean state as in at the state level. This is where most of the these anti-homeless laws are going to be passed. And you know, at the local level as well, because the local level is where a lot of like homeowners and the homeowners association, the sort of old boomers who want their houses to continue to increase in value, and that's their main, you know, political underpinning. That's where they're driving the politics the most directly. You know? So it's gonna be bad. In fact, the treatment of the homeless in the United States, I would see taking a pretty similar path, in a really not good way, to the treatment of the Romani in Europe, the nomadic peoples. All right, I gotta go around. I took 2 blue shells, and I'm still in first. Nice. I ate 2 blue shells that game and still got first. What a... I think I raced pretty good. But if you can believe it, that is the Supreme Court ruling with the fewest wide-ranging consequences and implications out of the 3 that happened recently. The other one, which I will also not be pulling up an article for because I remember it for the most part, is something regarding the, quote, Chevron deference. Now, because it's America and this is actually 18 companies wearing a giant trench coat and not a real country, it is, of course, named for the Chevron company. This is a petrol company, but the decision itself is actually pretty important, right? Basically, it just says that, like, yeah, you know, when Congress writes a law that has regulations in it, and it gives that to the executive branch, you know, like the president and the agencies, they can sort of fill in the blanks if there are any question marks. Like, oh, what do they mean by this exactly? Well, you know, we can kind of reasonably guess, like, okay, but they mean this much and whatever. So, like, with stuff like the Clean Air and Water Act, Congress doesn't necessarily set all the specific measurements for, like, how clean does the air or water have to be. That's up to the executive agencies as per this decision. This specifically grants the executive government the, like, authority to do things, basically, you know, that go just a little bit outside the bounds of a congressional law if there's, like, needs to be some interpretation, because, like, I don't know what this means, dude, you know. Ow. And the Supreme Court was like, nah, actually, we should get to decide what this means. So now, like, this decision paralyzes the entire government of the United States. Understand that, like, people meme on Congress being ineffective and the government being ineffective. That shit is the realest fucking meme you've ever seen in your life. Give me that. This is, you know, Congress as of late has been especially unproductive, and this Congress in particular, running from 2022 to through the end of this year, has been actually the least productive Congress in American history, passing, I think, only enough laws for me to count on one hand. That is really fucking low for the American government, right? So Congress already can't do anything, and now because of this this new ruling, the like the president and the executive branch of government, all the agencies and stuff, the administrative state, can't do anything either. So the legislature can't do anything. The administration can't do anything. Who can do anything? The Supreme Court. That's right. The Supreme Court literally consolidated all that power in themselves. The Supreme Court, I'm a Supreme Court abolitionist now. Yeah, and this makes me even more of a Supreme Court abolitionist than I already was, which is quite an accomplishment, you know? So, like, if anything at the federal level is going to happen, it's going to be through the Supreme Court. And there are 6 Hitlerites on the Supreme Court. This is actually, like, this is part of the 2025 the Project 2025 playbook. You know, the conservative plan to do functionally a fascist takeover of the US government. This is a big part of that plan, is taking over the Supreme Court, which the conservatives were pretty successful at, and then co-opting it to serve their means. It was like, it's like, the 1-2, like, basically take over the Supreme Court, then make it so that only the Supreme Court can do stuff, then take over all the other branches of government through the Supreme Court, then restore power back to those branches once we control everything, and then do all, like, the fascist bullshit. I might get fucked at this ending part, but I'm doing what I can. I'm gonna get third? Yeah. We unanimously decided that we should have all the power. Yeah, and it was, I think it was a 7-2 ruling. 7 of the Supreme Court justices decided, yes, we should have all the power. And 2 of them were like, what the fuck? No, that's stupid. And of course, the 2 votes in dissent don't matter. They're dissenting votes. But, Supreme Court got their way. This is how empires die. I know it's like, the West has fallen. Billions must die. But if you take a look at some historical parallels throughout history of other empires, one of the things that precedes their fall is stagnation. And that ultimately being manifest through government deadlocks and through, like, basically weird bureaucratic trickery that paralyzes the bureaucratic apparatus into not being able to do anything. This is most evident, I think, with the Roman Republic and the Roman Empire. In the Roman Republic, it was like the rules in the Senate were so convoluted that they couldn't do anything, even if somebody actually wanted to, because the process was so long and arduous and like had to go through so many proxies. And it was already kind of like that in the U.S. The Liberum Veto, killing the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, is a better example. I'm prepared to agree, but I don't know fully what you're talking about. If you could elaborate, that would be great. But, yeah, it very well could be. And of course, it's not a coincidence as well. The Supreme Court is the most reactionary and conservative branch of the U.S. government by design, but then also by like ideology as well. They want to have a reactionary fascist agenda and stuff like that. And the other branches of government are comparatively actually less fascist and less reactionary. So the Supreme Court basically, like the Republican Party through the Supreme Court, is trying to get them out of the way. Ow. Like, if the whole government agrees it takes one person to stop the law or the reform from passing, yeah, that's right. Yes, that is a very paralyzing force. Because in Congress, it's like, or in the United States, we have sort of an equivalent. We have the veto, but that's like, there's actually a workaround there. Congress can pass a law, and if the president really doesn't want to sign it, they can veto it, and it doesn't become a law. But at the same time, there are 2 things that sort of limit the power of a veto. Number one, the president can be overruled by Congress. If 2/3 of a Congress passes a law, if it passes with a 2/3 majority, the president can't veto it. It just becomes law anyways, even if the president doesn't sign it. And then also, vetoing a law is actually like kind of taboo. Like there's a little bit of a social stigma against presidents just vetoing all the laws that come to their desk. It's like an unthinkable thing. And I actually think that if a president decided to start doing that, then like they would incur some real consequences from the party leadership and stuff like that. Obviously, that's a little bit of like liberal wishful thinking on some level, but there's historical inertia that prevents presidents from vetoing everything that they get, and also the fact that vetoes aren't bulletproof. If 2/3 of the government decides yes, this will be law, then the veto does nothing. It becomes law anyways, right? So there were like just these tiny little pitiful gasps of breath coming from the government that was like, no, wait, theoretically Congress could still do something. But then now Congress can't do anything because of, like corruption has reached a tipping point, and the interests of private capital have so thoroughly paralyzed Congress that now no laws are even getting passed to be vetoed or not vetoed. And then of course the executive branch has some limited authority to pass what are called executive orders and whatever, and that means the government can kind of do stuff, because they can enforce laws slightly differently that already exist. That's a thing that they can do. But now the Supreme Court has made it so that they can't even do that. So the only part of the federal government that can do anything is the Supreme Court. They have all the power, functionally speaking. You know, theoretically, Congress also has power, but, like, Congress passing a law? Nah. Not in this fucking session. So here we have the stagnation. And then when the reactionaries take over the United States, that's when you start to get the fall of an empire, right? Because reactionary economic policymaking is dog shit. The best thing that Republicans have in terms of economic policy is loosening up labor protections, child labor, lowering wages, busting unions, and basically just concentrating wealth in the hands of business owners who do all of jack shit, right? Their plan would kill this country economically. It's austerity politics like times 10. Right? And that's if the conservatives are successful, that's the process we're going to see. Now, if the liberals are successful, that doesn't necessarily mean any of that isn't going to happen. But you know, it's like Jesus Christ, delay the inevitable just a little bit more. Like, ultimately, this is why countries need socialism. This is why socialism is such a necessary thing, because otherwise countries die a slow and painful death, either through the regression of social norms or through the regression of economic policy. And this is how it starts, is that the country gets paralyzed and can't do anything. And there are various waves of paralyzation, austerity, with reactionism sprinkled in everywhere. You know? But that's only ruling 2 out of 3. If you can believe it, there's a third ruling that is arguably as bad, if not worse, as the other one that I just described. And it has to do with the January 6th rioters, right? Like the insurrection people. I don't have an article for that. I would like to pull one up, so I think I will drive the rest of this race, and then I'll go look for a news article that covers the Supreme Court decision about the January 6th rioters, many of whom have actually been on trial, and it has to do with those trials. He was holding a mega? That's kind of crazy. Well, at the very least, I kind of stopped him from getting a massive breakaway. Yeah. Oh, no, wait. Okay, he's still there. What happened to him there? Is there a wall trick that you can do there? I feel like there's a wall trick that I don't know about. Got him! I'm so good at the game. Fuck! He got me. They got me. They got your boy. What a red shell dodge! This race is sick. Okay, I think I did the wall trick pretty good there, actually. 1 mushroom? I'll take it. What's he doing, I wonder? A lot of people struggle with that section, with the wall there. Oh, yeah, you can hit the wall there. I see it. Okay. I'm saving this mushroom for the shortcut at the end. Please spare me? Thank you. Oh, I got 3rd. That's actually a little bit slower. Interesting. Alright. Good race. Good race. And now, let's go to January 6th defendants ruling. Oh boy. SCOTUS judges rule for January 6th defendant. Oh, shit. Here we go. Let's go to the BBC for this one. Supreme Court cast doubt on hundreds of January 6 cases. Well, that's not good. Federal prosecutors, according to the Supreme Court, federal prosecutors overreached when using an obstruction law to charge hundreds of January 6 rioters. The Supreme Court ruled as much in an opinion that could also take effect. That could also affect a case against Donald Trump. The justices ruled that obstruction charges must include proof that defendants tried to tamper with or destroy documents. Nah, dog. Nah. The obstruction in the January 6 cases was just them going and, like, trying to forcibly stop the counting of votes to certify an election. A process in which there is little, if any, documentation, because this is done by a verbal vote. They know what they're doing. The Supreme Court 100% knows what they're doing here. So basically, they're saying that prosecutors against insurrectionists, picture this as like the putschists in Germany, in Nazi Germany, or pre-Nazi Germany, Weimar Germany. And judges are saying, like, now we think the prosecutors were too mean against the beer hall putsch guys. Because that's what they're saying here. You know? This allows them, by the way, this enables a lot of those people, those defendants, to challenge the rulings that were issued in their cases. A lot of like the far right is gonna walk free after having literally committed a crime against the whole fucking country because of this. You know, I'm not usually Mr. Crimes Against the State kind of guy in terms of like what I care about people doing, because like states fucking suck. But like, this is a peaceful transfer of power, one of the few good things that like a state potentially offers. And they're like, nah, you know, that thing that actually keeps society stable and like actually doesn't hurt anybody, we don't like that. We like the things that do hurt people, such as fascist takeovers of government and military juntas, right? And you know, impeding the routine process of like one administration transferring to another is like the highest kind of crime that there is. And of course, because it's the highest kind of crime that we have, there is no punishment for it, and there is no law for it, because this is a fucking liberal dystopian hellhole where the mindset of nothing ever happens has penetrated everything. And that has given the Supreme Court leeway to decide that, like, actually, I think you were too mean to the Hitlerites. You know? I can't believe I got that box. Don't land on me. Okay. Ow. Holy shit, he hit me in midair. Ah. Lame. Okay. That race didn't go too well, needless to say. Let's keep going. Oh, of course. The case was brought to the Supreme Court by Joseph Fisher, a former police officer from Pennsylvania who attended the rally in D.C. on January 6, 2021. Then briefly went inside the Capitol. So this case was brought by an insurrectionist saying, the prosecutors have been too mean to us. And then the Supreme Court was like, yeah, they were actually. You know, that's fine, actually. Which, incredibly, does mirror almost one-to-one the kind of judicial attitudes that existed in Weimar Germany, where the like somebody would murder a Jewish person and say, Your Honor, I only did it because there was a Jewish plot, and the judge would essentially agree, yeah, you know what, there was a Jewish plot. You know, I think they were too mean to you, or something like that. Hopefully, a Democrat will be in charge in this. When the next Supreme Court judges are picked. Dog, I hate to break it to you, having a Democrat in charge isn't going to fix this. I've already outlined why Democrats are so fucking incompetent and don't understand how politics works, because they're stuck in the 90s. If a Democrat is in charge, the Supreme Court justices won't retire. You think there's a deadline for those Supreme Court justices? No, they serve for life. They're unelected. They serve until they die. It won't fix it, but less damage. Yeah, like only marginally. Like at this point, a lot of the die has been cast. Like a Democrat being in charge, like I said, is only really going to delay the inevitable. So we have to start planning for that now. We have to start thinking about how the fuck do you combat this? Because like obviously, vote for a Democrat, Democrat, and all that. Like, that has to be part of your plan because they are the lesser evil. Voting for the lesser evil is always part of the strategy, but it can't be the whole strategy, right? Hope is not a tactic. And, that's kind of like, I've been trying to look for opportunities to engage non-electorally. If there's to see if there's anything that I can do that would have some sort of impact outside of the electoral system. Because, as long as the electoral system mostly and almost exclusively consists of liberals and fascists, nothing's gonna get fixed ever. Problems are just going to fester. I'm gonna use this here, I think. I think that was good. Oh, he fell off? Poor bastard. Ow. There goes my mushroom. Oh, but I get 3 mushrooms. Cool. No, I got bumped off. Fuck. This is one of those moments where, politically speaking, I talk about the stuff that I can do, right? Like, I'm looking for opportunities for me to do things, potentially. But really, this is one of those moments where I think, honestly, the answer is just that the fascist, the impending fascist wave of victories and stuff is kind of inevitable, and we just have to try to lay the groundwork for whatever comes after that, right? Does that make sense? Because the opportunities to prevent fascism from taking power have largely come and gone. And obviously, you should try to buy as much time as you can. But really, that's all that the political tactics in the interim are: buying time. Now, what do you think are the odds of Trump winning the election? 2 cases for that. Two different scenarios. In the scenario where Joe Biden is still the Democratic candidate and they don't replace him, like 95-5. Trump is almost guaranteed to win if Joe Biden is still the Democratic candidate, right? Because Joe Biden's a corpse. He's fucking dead. If the Democratic Party replaces Biden, then the odds are better than 95-5, definitely better than 90-10 or whatever. But it depends on who they replace him with. I know a good replacement that the Dems would like. Oh no. Please, I hope it's not who I think it is. Or maybe it's not anybody that I'm thinking of. And classic meme answer. If the Democrats replace Joe Biden with somebody younger and that can talk in front of a camera, then Jimmy Carter only served 1 term. True, the real alternate timeline. And he's still breathing. So is Biden, technically, allegedly. Yeah. I honestly, as far as who I think the Democrats will go with, I could see them going for Like, if they do replace Biden, I could see them going with Kamala Harris or Pete Buttigieg or somebody who's a part of the current administration, and that has experience in front of the cameras and whatever that they can kind of use as a party sock puppet and whatever. The odds of them beating Trump still wouldn't be great. Kamala Harris is kind of a charisma vacuum. A lot of people don't really like Pete Buttigieg, but, you know, Biden had the same problem and he won in 2020. The main thing is just you have to replace Biden because the man is a corpse. He is fumbling over his words constantly, and, like, that's not good for anybody except for the Republicans. So those are the two scenarios where I would have distinct predictions on how likely it is that Trump wins the election. What did you think about the debate? Fucking horrible. I have a video segment on it. You can see my thoughts there. But it was so bad. Joe Biden performed so poorly. You know, he like... They didn't invite poor Wormbrain. Honestly, looking back on it, looking back on his RFK Jr.'s post about it being like, give me 5 more brainworms and I'll still beat these two fools in a debate, he might have actually been right. Look, I'm no fan of RFK Jr., but I do understand how debates work, right? And Trump and Biden both have massive, massive problems when it comes to performing rhetorically in front of a camera, in front of a debate. I have seen interviews with RFK, and he's batshit insane. Basically, everything he says is wrong or, like, weirdo conspiracy bait, but he's rhetorically proficient. He knows how to talk in front of the camera, at least relative to fucking Joe Biden and Donald Trump, which, you know, isn't the highest bar in the world, but he clears it pretty easily, you know? Not that that matters in any sense, because RFK is a third-party candidate and, you know, is got no chance because of that. But it is funny that it was like, everybody was like, shit, maybe he was right about that thing. You know? You know, maybe. Nice blooper. Oh, dude. I'm not gonna get a box. Oh, no, wait, yes, I am. Oh, shit, I passed somebody? I must have really fucked them up with that POW. Oh, no, I didn't get the trick. I'm gonna definitely get passed. Unless? Okay, second. Yeah, that debate, the debate was basically so disastrous that the Democratic Party needs to replace Biden. And I think that's a hard need. Like, not as in difficult. I mean, it is difficult in some ways, but, like, if they don't replace Biden after that debate performance, they just lose. This is unrelated, but do you remember when I told you that the crazy Lithuanian politician got arrested for screaming slurs and said the EU is 2 times worse than the USSR and Nazi Germany combined? I do remember that guy that you were telling me about. He's like a far right lolcow in Lithuania. What about him? He is now in the EU Parliament. Oh yeah, that's right. The EU Parliament now has a dedicated far right bloc. Not like it doesn't matter all that much, honestly. I think that at this point, for how little the EU is capable of doing as an entity that isn't providing aid to Ukraine, you know, that's still good. You know, I still like that the EU can provide aid to Ukraine. We'll take those. But the fact that all else they can do is like lower taxes and give farmers subsidies kind of makes me think like, man, maybe it would just be better if the EU was dissolved. Even they didn't want him. Of course they didn't. Nobody in the far right actually likes each other. These are all a bunch of loser incels that got into politics. Right? All the far right, the far right is fucking incompetent for a couple of different reasons. One of them is because all of them hate each other. Like in one far right party, people typically get along. Yeah, the faction he wanted to join didn't want to let him join. The French far right and the German far right hate each other. The
German far right and the Czech and Slovakian far rights hate each other, and then like the Lithuanian far right and whatever other far right parties hate each other. None of the far right parties in any country and like between countries like each other. They all fucking hate each other. But they're all like of the same ideological conviction. It's just their part of their ideological conviction is like really fucking heavy emphasis on irrationality and nationalism and whatever, and that leads them to hate each other for either being from a different country or not being nationalist enough. A lot of the time, at least when they're like trying to work in the legislature, you know. Hell, even within one country, you know, there are two active major active far right parties in France, or I guess two and a half if you count Macron's party. And both of them really don't like each other. The Républicains, which is just the Republicans, and the Rassemblement National, the National Assembly or whatever it's, or the National Gathering. Both of those parties really fucking hate each other. You know? And they're also like, a lot of people on the far right, for whatever reason, are just fucking petty as hell. They're all drama queens, so they're not gonna like stand on business or some shit. You know, they're all too busy catfighting. We impeached the dude and now he's everyone's problem. Yeah, that tends to be how it goes for people on the far right. They just love to be giant whiny crybabies and cause a huge fuss. And I don't mean to say that to like diminish the kind of influence or threat that the far right poses in certain ways. Just to understand the like the kind of people that they are and the way that they conduct themselves in politics, you know? There are certain behaviors that they can be expected to repeat and that you could potentially even take advantage of. If there's no shock, then I'm sitting pretty good here. Oh no. Okay. I should be okay at least. No. I'm getting passed by everybody. He can shout slurs in Brussels now? True. Yeah, I hope he has a fun time doing that stuff. Anyways, the other namesake of the stream. That's interesting stuff. Let me talk about that for a minute. L'essentiel des élections en France. Législative 2024, le RN en tête avec 34%, le NFP deuxième avec 29%, ensemble 21,5%. So these are the early vote totals. 34% for the RN, which is the far right, 29% for the Nouveau Front Populaire, which is the left bloc, and then 21.5% for Macron and the centrists. These are still the first round of elections. I don't know exactly how the electoral system works. I thought it worked one way, but somebody informed me, or somebody said on Twitter that it actually, there's a different way that it works. I thought it was just top two vote getters move on to the second round. Turns out it's anybody above 12% in any of the constituencies, I think. So that changes things a bit. It gets more convoluted and stuff, but ultimately this is kind of similar to what I would have predicted, that the far right and the left are the two options out in front, and then obviously nobody really cares about Macron's party. I don't expect Macron's party to make it past the first round in very many of the constituencies where they are an option. It seems like in most places that I've seen, the voting has been dominated by either the left bloc or the far right. Oh no, I fell off again. Look, I'm not driving well this time. Let's, I think I know where I want to use this. I just hope the person in 6th doesn't have the shock or something crazy. Let's keep driving. I'll just be patient. If they don't have the shock, then this should be fine. Yeah, oh no. I thought it would take me the other way. This is fine too. Just as long as it takes me past this section, I think I'm good. Yeah. Good. Give me the low bounce. Yes. What's up, Yoshi? Ow, fuck. What's wrong with you, Yoshi? What's the matter with you? Promising to send your people to fight in the war may not be the best thing to say before an election. Was that, Macron? Wouldn't be surprised if that was Macron that said that. Macron, yeah? Yeah, not surprised. Like I said, liberals being incompetent is a pretty universal thing. It's not just an America thing. Or a Europe thing. It's a pretty widespread across the board. I'm gonna get last, I think. Ouch. Oof. Fuck you, British Broadcasting. Actually, no, I need to keep that open. I think I'm going to make that a segment. France, the Baltics, and Poland promise to send troops to Ukraine in case Russia starts to break through. I mean, Russia's been pressing the offensive, but I don't think there's much danger of them really breaking through in any appreciable capacity, especially because the US recently said that Ukraine is allowed to strike Russian territory finally. So they're going to be blowing up a lot of arms depots and logistical supply hubs in Russia proper. Which is going to put a lot more stress on the Russian military than just having to worry about the battle in Ukraine, right? Like the terms of the battle have altered significantly, and I think that's gonna prevent Russia from doing a lot. North Korea will be sending in fresh troops. Yeah, well, let's just say it's North Korea. I mean, obviously, sending fresh troops, that is a concern. But Ukraine has been at a numerical disadvantage from a troops perspective since the war started. And the fact that Russia is now getting help from North Korea, I think speaks to the problems that they're having with manpower. Is this an everything is fine kind of argument? No, not really. This is still a tense situation, obviously. But I don't think there's any need to shit yourself over this. You just need to promise some food and a flat in South Korea and half the force are gone. Buddy, have you seen South Korea? Shit's not that much better there. But, yeah, if you offered them, the North Korean military is basically, barely a military from the kind of standards they've cultivated. Yeah, all it would take is a food and a flat literally anywhere else. And yeah, like you said, they'd probably defect. Oh, what? I didn't know I hit that guy. I thought I wouldn't, is why I kind of went around him like that. I didn't really want to hit him. Alright, let's get it. Shrooms. Interesting. Okay. Did I bump him? He bumped me, for sure. Oh. Thank fuck I didn't get starred by that guy. think I need to get ahead just a little bit. Mean item. Okay. 1 mushroom. I'll take it, honestly. Get me up here. I want to hold this mushroom as long as I can. That's what I want. Ow. No, I didn't get a box. Oh my god, that was such bad decision making by me. Alright. Just don't get bumped off, and I will probably be okay. Is there an item set? There is. Okay. Yes. That's good. Alright, well, fuck it. We take those. Okay, yeah, here we go. The RN is qualified for the second round in 390 out of 430 constituencies. The left block in 370 out of, or 372 410, not out of, it's between that many and that many. And Ensemble, the centrists, from 290 to 330. So the centrists are underperforming quite a lot. We'll see how who is facing off against who in the second round. And how many deputies they get in the legislature. This could be good. This could be actually quite bad. I know I was predicting a lot of good things, and I felt quite optimistic about the French elections. I'm feeling slightly less optimistic now. I don't know how I didn't see it coming, that this is a bourgeois democracy, and obviously there's some electoral fuckery that makes it so that the popular support is doesn't directly translate to the amount of seats that they get. But even still, I think that we might be in the good timeline where the centrist party is forced to work with the left bloc, because it's possible that the RN doesn't get enough seats for them and the centrists to constitute a majority by themselves. So the centrists might have to pick which side they want to go to, which of course the centrists tend to pick the far right, reliably so, rather than the left. But, you know, again, pretty big we'll see moment. Whoa, what the I'm getting bumped as hell. The best item in the game. Ow. Dude, this guy has it out for me, I swear. He keeps starring me every time. Alright, let's go this way. Alright. Let's keep going. I should get a box here, I think. Yep. Only 3 mushrooms. Another 3 mushrooms, that's pretty good. I don't know what place I got. 5th, okay. Oh, here's something fun. You know how there's the meme about people go and say, yeah, my politics are radical. I would firebomb a Walmart, and then don't firebomb a Walmart. Somebody actually did some shit like that recently. They didn't firebomb a Walmart, but what they did is they started gumming up. They put chewing gum or like unbaked dough or something sticky into parking ticket slots on parking meters. And there's a little ticket there that says parking tickets are a war tactic the state uses to attack the working class. From Oakland to Ethiopia, we will fight back. Pretty cool, I guess. There are some problems with like car infrastructure and whatever, but I do like that they are attacking a thing that directly and disproportionately hurts the lower economic classes. And I think that's pretty cool. And of course, it's also very telling that the same person who is known for the people be like, my strategy is to firebomb Walmart and then don't go firebomb Walmart. That person was like, what? No, don't do that. Because of course the argument there was disingenuous from the get-go, right? People who say like, oh, people will say my politics are radical, my strategy is to firebomb a Walmart to do class warfare the other direction, to make fun of them, don't actually want them to do that anyways. You know? But I appreciate it because this is actually good political strategizing. It is anonymous and it enables you to. Oh, I forgot how this track works. Stuff like this, small acts of vandalism, are anonymous and they are quick and easy, and pretty low risk, but they do have an impact. You know. I don't know. Why do? Radical action like this has historically been taken by left-wing movements, and it tends to be pretty effective when it is. Stuff like this raises class consciousness too. If I'm not 100% mistaken, right? Like these kinds of radical acts, I don't think vandalism is a good form of protest. Oh, it's a great form of protest when you're vandalizing things in a way that protects people's wallets. That's going to come out of your taxes? No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It absolutely is not. Like, in this example, right, somebody gummed up a parking meter so that, like, they can't issue parking tickets. How are people going to fucking know, like, how much money they missed out on from one parking meter? You think they're going to go and look at the surveillance footage to track who was, like, parked there and how over time it was and then go find them to give them a parking ticket? Motherfucker, you would spend more money on that than you would gain from the parking ticket after searching for that person. And that's the point. That's why this is such good strategy, because they are small acts of like protests. They are small acts of vandalism. Then it's literally not worth it for the state to pursue the people that perpetrate it, because it would cost more money than just removing the gum and moving on. Does that make sense? It's the same. The thing that makes this a good protest strategy is the same thing that dissuades governments from prosecuting wealthy people, because they would lose more money than they would gain if they tried to like go after these people. You have to try to tailor your means of resistance to the means available to you, or your means of protest to the means available to you, right? So like one parking meter's worth of effort is a good amount of effort to put into a protest, because if you put one parking meter's worth of effort into an act of vandalism, that's less than it would cost the government to pursue you for that act of vandalism. Especially if you do it in a way that makes it hard for you to be identified, right? Now, of course, to preempt all the Fed posters out there, this is not me theoretically encouraging people to do this. What I'm saying is this is an intelligent political strategy that people will employ and have employed historically. If you can open the history books in higher level history classes and see examples of people doing the same thing. A lot of times very small but disruptive acts of protest in an anonymous fashion. Why? Because if the government decided to crack down on them, it would cost them more than it would gain them, thereby making the protesters' point for them that this is just about class warfare and nothing else. You know? It's almost the perfect form of protest. That's why sometimes you'll see just little stickers everywhere from anarchists. Very small, but it's like not worth it to track them down. Does that make sense? Yeah, I guess. Okay, good. Because that's what I'm saying. Now, in comparison, if you did do something like firebombing a Walmart, that's an entire Walmart's worth of economic value that has been taken out by a few individuals with some Molotovs or whatever. In that case, that is a very ineffective form of protest. First of all, because it is so big and violent and spectacular that it might not be capable of garnering much public sympathy. That is a concern that goes on there. But then also the sort of veil of anonymity is shattered because you've destroyed so much economic output. You've drawn so much attention and disrupted so much capital that the government now views it as worthwhile to pursue you. They would gain more than they would lose by pursuing you in that instance, right? Woke CIA drone pilot, I sincerely hope that is a shit post because, do not watch that. I mean, or do, it could be very entertaining, but, DPRK, not not known for the standards of living and all that, not known for being a democratic paradise. Have you watched it? No. And I'm not going to. Damn, that's crazy. Watch this literal propaganda video that agrees with me. No thanks, actually. The greatest career? Yeah, that's true. We're just gonna repeat Western propaganda unquestioningly then? No. That's not what I do. Now, if you wanted to follow a liberal, then maybe you would get that from them, but I'm not a liberal, so that's not how we roll here. What I will do, though, here's what I will do. I will extend some sympathy to the sympathizers of North Korea, because life is most certainly not good there. But here's the thing, right? You wouldn't even consider exposing yourself to alternate views on the DPRK then? Motherfucker, I've watched Jason Unruh's videos. I know what the alternate views on the DPRK are, and they are unhinged. What my position is that, like, North Korea is a shit place to live. There is no getting around that. But ultimately, that's not the fault of the government there, right? After all, there are other states that clothe themselves in the aesthetic of communism that are authoritarian hellholes that actually have higher living standards. For example, China. A pretty well-developed country, all things considered. Obviously, that's way bigger. But, like, the thing that makes North Korea so bad to live in... yeah, monarchies are just like that. Monarchies aren't necessarily just like that. I mean, they are, like, monarchy is a really bad form of government, but the reason that North Korea has such bad living standards, the reason why it is so destitute there relative to other countries, even in some places in the global south that have marginally better standards of living, is because the whole world, the West especially, shut them out in a way that I actually have never seen with any other country in the world, right? Countries don't really do trade with North Korea, who, like, maybe China and then Russia. Like, I don't think that's very good for getting an inflow of economic resources in a globalized economy. North Korea has effectively partially from decisions that they have made, because every country makes their own decisions and whatever, like, there's like at least a little bit of fault there, but also because of the economic decision making of the West. North Korea has been locked out of the global economy, and they've been doomed to an existence of material destitution. Ultimately, the way that you would fix that, the way you fix North Korea and make it not shit, I will get to those comments in a moment, is by opening the market up to North Korea, basically saying, look, we are now willing to trade with you. We're going to repeal all the embargoes and the sanctions and the whatever, because sanctions are just not a good form of economic engagement, like, realistically speaking, right? The only thing that they do is further human suffering. You have to be a pretty fucking evil individual to unironically argue for like such a broad embargo package that it produces the kind of living standards comparable to a country like North Korea. No. So the situation that North Korea is in, ultimately not entirely or not even like mostly their fault. It's mostly the fault of other countries that have more economic leverage than them. And if they opened up, or if not North Korea, but if the rest of the world opens up to North Korea, does trade with them, then those economic circumstances would gradually improve, and that would give way to certain, I don't want to say liberalizing, because that's not a good way to describe this. It would give way to certain political forces that would also open up the country in terms of certain rights, certain protections, among them being workers' protections. North Korea, not a very good state for the workers. People do not enjoy a high standard of living. There's not really any democracy in a proletarian sense. And yeah, North Korea self-reports all that data. So even the statistics that the CIA has access to, the CIA known for being like, oh, this country needs freedom, even those statistics are like charitable to North Korea in a way, which means things must be pretty fucking bad over there, you know? China did not liberalize, they just became more capitalist after opening up. That is actually liberalization. What I was referring to is not necessarily the capitalist liberalization, but rather the the improvement of people's rights and protections. Like I said, particularly workers' protections. And that I don't really feel comfortable to as liberalization. I don't feel comfortable referring to that as liberalization. The homelessness, all workers have access to education and healthcare, something that can't be said for workers in the USA. Fucking source, buddy. If it's a DPRK news channel, get your ass out of here. I'm not going to ban you for that, but like just figuratively speaking. No, we don't engage in such levels of delusion to say that North Korea is a workers' paradise. Like we all know the fucking global electricity footprint of North Korea versus other comparable countries in terms of population. They do not have a very good material standard of living. We've seen the documentaries of various randos who go into North Korea and obviously have some sort of pro-Western bias, but ultimately are just random individuals who go there and try to document the poor living standards. From what information that we have, which even that has been curated to make North Korea look good, it doesn't look good. I'm not saying it's paradise. I'm saying it's much easier to argue with a straw man. No, that is what you're saying. Because what I'm saying is that North Korea is a very shit place to live. And even then, that isn't North Korea's fault. What you're setting up a series of conditions, number one, that are wrong, and number two, that are not even necessary to argue, I think, the core principle that we would both agree on, which is that the rest of the world is wrong to shut North Korea out. After China opened up, they didn't become any less authoritarian. That's kind of true. That's kind of true. But I think China doing business and diplomacy with the rest of the world, if they have all... Why do they need to shoot and send people to camps who try to escape? That's actually a pretty good point. Yeah, you can at least fucking leave America if you want. You know? It's just like, oh yeah, make sure your passport's up to date, make sure blah, blah, blah. And then what? If you don't do that, what? You get in trouble with airport security? That's it. You don't get literally shot or blown up. I feel like I'm the one arguing with the straw man ultimately right now. Because you're like, woke CIA drone pilot, you're a caricature of my beliefs. Is what's going on here. you know? You're the kind of... I feel like, if anything, you're the kind of person that a conservative would argue that I am. Which is very silly. If the South is so much better, then why do Northerners get trapped in the South by the government of the South? Did you not hear me earlier saying, buddy, the South isn't that much better than the North? The South Korea is in a literally unprecedented state of economic fuckery right now. That, like... Every like insane work culture problem that Japan has, South Korea has, but worse. Like, all of the fucking social alienation that's going on in Japan is also happening in South Korea, just worse. It's actually not that long, I think. It's only a matter of like a couple generations until South Korea is as bad as North Korea. I am not in any way arguing that South Korea is a especially good place to live. What I am saying is that North Korea has among the worst standards of living in the world, and I think that we would do well to acknowledge that, especially if we are arguing to improve those standards of living for the working class, right? And to ultimately get them closer to a socialist revolution. Because there is no such thing as a socialist country right now. There is no country where you can look at the economic relations and it will be evident that the workers control the means of production, because that doesn't exist. Those relations do not yet exist. Otherwise, the world would be a way more socialist place than it is, and way more people would be ideologically socialist. As you acknowledge, the standard of living is low because of the embargo. There we go. That's all I'm saying here. Is not like... I'm not arguing that South Korea's standards... Or, not South Korea. North Korea, excuse me. I'm not arguing that North Korea's standards of living are absolute shit because it's, like, something they have brought on themselves. No, that's lib shit. That is Western propaganda. What I'm arguing is that the reason that standards of living there are so bad, similar to the reason that the situation's bad in Cuba, is because the West has systemically shut them out of the entire world economy. Not to say that, like, they need to embrace global capitalism. No, just that being locked off from every other country that has resources has massively negative consequences and results in shit living standards. And if you want to fix that, you should start by lifting that embargo. And then things could potentially get a lot better in North Korea, right? We saw the same thing with, or we have seen the same thing with Cuba, where things were actually okay there for a long time. Or not long time, but like the socialist revolution in Cuba undoubtedly improved the situation there. And then the embargoes hit, and then things got so much worse. And now the entire politics, the entire geopolitics around Cuba centers around lifting that embargo, because that's very easily identifiable as the reason things are so bad there. Now, obviously, like, Cuba actually has a way more defensible form of government than North Korea, even though I have problems with it. But like, in either case, step number one is to lift that embargo. And then you can worry about how authoritarian or dictatorial the government is. You know? We're getting bombed as fuck. They are monarchy? Yes, North Korea is a monarchy. In fact, they're like a, what, necrocracy or something? I don't know. There's some goofy special term that they use to refer to North Korea, because it's like, like they want to demonize them because they have a red star on their flag or something. But fundamentally, they're really just a monarchy. Kind of like, I don't know, Morocco? It's not that different. You know, it's just a... you know, authoritarian country with a dictator and low living standards. Not that uncommon. Don't think if the sanctions that are lifted, they will become rich. The situation will be better. There we go, and that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that if the sanctions lift, then they will become rich instantly. I know they still won't be very developed, but again, that's step one to ensuring that living conditions there improve. Because as it is right now, nothing can improve unless the sanctions and the embargo is lifted. Then you have room for them to do more trade with wealthier countries, countries that have more to offer, and it's gonna be really difficult to resist the like forces of privatization. I'll be real, you know. But if they manage to do that in like an ideal scenario, they would theoretically be able to develop more without those sanctions and potentially become a much better place to live for the people that live there. People can even leave the regions they live like serfs. Buddy, I know that. I didn't at any point argue against that. You understand that material conditions drive all of that. Though fundamentally, what you're describing are driven by the material circumstances of people's situations. Why is serfdom still a thing? Because they've been so fucking closed off from the rest of the world that it's way easier to maintain that norm. Why can't people leave their regions? Number one, because that norm exists of people being serfs. And number two, because people can't fucking afford to. You know? It seems like I've become the enlightened centrist on the issue of North Korea. Oops. Or not have become. It seems I am now in the position of like the positions I've held on North Korea. Fundamentally, these are the positions I've always held. Ever since I had like a well-developed opinion on the subject that I could talk about, right? But like, it's weird that for whatever reason, or well, not for whatever reason, for specific reasons, but like, a lot of people with North Korea specifically have these really weird preconceptions. I would love to visit North Korea someday. I don't know if I would agree, but it certainly would be interesting to see those conditions firsthand, or to like, visit, hopefully not stay. Yeah. I totally get it. No, I didn't get to use the best item in the game. Rip. God damn it. Blue Shell went for me. Rip. I'm dead. Oh, dude, those Funky Kongs are hanging out. Only -9? Shit, I'll stick with it. Okay, now I actually want to say something that pertains to my commentary on the Supreme Court earlier. It was like a concluding remark. Dog, Marbury versus Madison was a fucking mistake. If you're not familiar, that's the case that established judicial review. Basically, that's the law, that's the part of the law, the Constitution, that says the Supreme Court gets to have the final decision on fucking everything. Right? Like, when the Supreme Court says something, the only person who can decide to overturn that is the Supreme Court. Fucking mistake, let me tell you. We would do just as well without a Supreme Court. I would actually much rather it be like a bunch of courts that are sometimes in discord with each other, because then it's like, they are too busy fighting amongst themselves to exercise like dictatorial power unilaterally or some shit like that, you know? Because it's not like when the Supreme Court makes a decision, they then stick with that decision, right? The Chevron decision, the overturning of Roe v. Wade, that was the Supreme Court deciding that other things the Supreme Court did were no longer the law. The only thing is, the Supreme Court only ever does that with good decisions. You know, or at least most of the time the Supreme Court like overturns good decisions that it makes. The Supreme Court very infrequently, if ever, overturns a bad decision. I think the only thing they've ever like fully overturned is what, Dred Scott v. Sanford, the thing that ruled that black people literally aren't people, and even that was only after the Civil War. No. Oh, whoa. Okay, I don't know how I stuck that landing. This will probably be the last race that I do. Most likely. Best item in the game! No, I didn't get an item. What? Oh, we stuck down there? What the hell? Okay. I think I know where I want to use this. I think I know where I want to use it. Please don't have the shock. I pray this guy doesn't have the shock. I'm gonna use it here. Okay. No, I got last. I don't want to end it like that. Maybe I'll do one more. I'll do one more. I really don't want to end it by getting last. Although it was mirror mode, so I have, like, some excuse, maybe. Yeah, no, it's like I said, it's not like the law is ever a concluded matter, right? The law fucking changes all the time. If anything, Marbury v. Madison and judicial review makes it so that the law changes less. And that fucking sucks. And that's bad. You know? You don't want the law to not change. So, like, you don't want the law to stay static. Otherwise, you get shit like the 3/5 compromise still technically being a part of the U.S. Constitution in some ways. Or, like, fucking... otherwise, you get shit like the... what? There's gotta be... there is some... oh, you get shit like the Electoral College, for one. And you get, like, I don't know... the way that Senate seats and congressional seats are still doled out, where, like, Senate is entirely non-proportional. It's, like, literally anti-democratic or some shit. It, like, there's some fucked up parts of the Constitution. Okay. Fuck is wrong with you, dude? Another mushroom. Interesting. How did that guy dodge the POW? What the fuck? That's wacky. He took both boxes, so I didn't get anything. Okay, 3 mushrooms. That's pretty good, I think. Ugh, I have to use one. I'm actually hoping to hit a box in as low position as possible. Yes! Okay, perfect. Give me this. 1 mushroom. Oh, he got hit. Okay. I'll take that. Nice. We take those. Alright. That's it for me. Dude, you want to know something funny? Something real funny. I lost followers for my take on the debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Deserved. On their part. If so, I at first I was like, huh. But then I was like, nah, you know what? If somebody unfollows me because of my take that Joe Biden fucking imploded and like stumbled over himself 69 times during that debate, then you don't deserve to be in my fucking stream audience because you can't handle the fucking objective reality of the world. Really? Yeah, 2 people unfollowed me after that. On Twitch specifically. Anywho. We're purging the ranks, you see. I am going to see if anybody's live to raid. Cody Schwab is doing a watch party for CEO. So is Plup. I gotta raid my man Plup. Plup is rarely ever live when I'm live. Cody Schwab usually is, so we're raiding Plup. What is he watching? This is... I don't recognize this game, but fuck it. We're having fun today. This is Guilty Gear or some shit? I don't play this game, whatever it is. All I play is Melee and Street Fighter in the FGC. Alright. Y'all have fun. I'll see you next time. Probably Tuesday.